So I have these leftover 2x4s from building this mobile workbench that I'm going to use to build this mobile planer stand, and along the way, there's going to be some blood involved. Hey everyone, my name is Ryan, and welcome to the first episode of Building a Workshop series, where, you guessed it, I'm going to be expanding out my little corner workshop. But more on that later. So the first step in building my mobile planer was to take the random assortment of leftover 2x4s and cut them down to my component pieces until I was left with a nice organized pile of cut up 2x4s. Now unfortunately, almost all these boards were twisted to some degree, and since I don't have a jointer, I had to rely on the trusty hand plane to flatten one face and square one edge. It wasn't a perfect flattening and edge joining, but it was close enough for a shop project. So after many hours of planing and lots of shavings later, I had a slightly nicer looking organized pile of cut up 2x4s. With my flat face on one side of each board, I could then run them all through the planer to get each board to the same thickness, and then do the same with the edge of each board to ensure they are all at the same width. Once I was done and cleaned up, I could then move on to assembling the legs. I used pocket holes to attach the edge of one 2x4 to the face of another along one edge. This creates a nice little L-shaped leg that is strong and has plenty of room for attaching stretchers to. And speaking of stretchers, with each leg assembled, I could then move on to cutting each stretcher to the exact same size. To do this, I first squared off one end of the board, measured and marked the final length, and then trimmed the board just a little past my marking line. And while I was trimming the board, I managed to do something I've never done before, which was cut myself while sawing. I always support the cutoff while sawing to help against tear out. But this time, as I was pushing on the cutoff piece, the saw jumped out of the cut, and I proceeded to saw away on my ring finger instead of the wood. It immediately started bleeding, and for whatever reason I felt it necessary to show the camera. So, just a friendly reminder that even though we're using hand tools, there are still ways we can cut ourselves. Anyway, after washing off my finger and putting on a band-aid, I finished trimming the board and then squared the cut end back on my shooting board. So with one board squared and cut to the final dimension, I could then use the board as a template for the remaining boards. To do this, after squaring one end of the next board, I could line up the two squared ends and then use my knife to mark the final length. Trim off the excess just past my marking line, and then use my shooting board to inch up exactly to my marking line until the two boards were flush with one another. I repeated that same process for the remaining stretchers, and once they were all trimmed to the exact size, I could then move on to assembling the planer base. To assemble the base, I used the clamp to hold everything together, then used the speed square to ensure everything was squared and drilled in a couple of screws. Before moving on to the next side, I realized it would be easier if I placed the top stretcher in and use another clamp to apply pressure until everything was squared, and once I had it squared, I could then screw it all into place. I followed the same process for the other side, and then followed the whole process once again to attach the stretchers connecting the two sides together. And while I'm assembling the remainder of the base, I want to take a second and talk about this series. In previous videos, I talked about how I felt like I didn't have a shop that was conducive to having a workflow I enjoyed. I like my little hand tool corner workshop, but there are tools I'd like to invest in and more of a visually pleasing look I'd like to go for, and I feel like I'm finally at a place where I want to begin investing in a more polished workshop. So that brings me to the series. One of the things that I enjoy most about following woodworking channels on YouTube is the ability to follow along with someone as they grow their shop, craft, business, or whatever, and that's what I hope to do with this series. I want to bring you along as I build out my shop and hopefully get to possibly teach you something or inspire you along the way. So anyway, with the base assembled, I could move on to cutting all my plywood pieces. To do that, I'm going to use my circular saw and homemade guide. A big reason I built this mobile workbench is for this exact purpose. I love hand tools, but when it comes to cutting plywood for jigs and or building cabinets like this, I really wanted someplace where I could do this all with a circular saw, and having this mobile workbench I can wheel out and work off is really nice. Once I had my pieces cut, I could check the fit, and seeing the panel was a little too big, I could then break out my hand plane to shave down the length until I had a nice snug fit. So I don't show it all, but I used the same process with the circular saw and guide to cut the two panels, middle divider, all the pieces for the drawer, and the top. And speaking of the drawer, that is what I worked on next. I went the pocket hole route to assemble the drawer / box. I wanted to keep things simple and feel like pocket holes are an easy, quick, and strong approach. I drilled the pocket holes out, then applied glue to each end and used clamps to hold everything in place while I screwed everything together. Then I applied more glue to the other side, flipped the whole thing over, and using the flat surface on my bench to keep the edges flush with one another, I drilled the remaining side in place. With the sides assembled, I then took out the bottom of the box, applied glue, and fitted this in place. I didn't show this either, but off camera, I used my hand plane to trim the bottom until I had a really snug fit. I know I could have just placed the entire bottom on top of the assembled sides, which would have been a lot easier, but that would have left the plywood edge exposed, which I really don't think looks as clean, so I went through the whole trouble of ensuring the bottom was recessed into the box. Once the box was assembled, I took some scrap cedar and screwed these into the base to act as drawer runners or supports. Then before enclosing the base with the side panels, and while I could still more easily move around in the base, I screwed some pocket holes into the top for when I go to attach the top. Once that was done, I could then hammer in the side panels and screw them into place. Then I took some more scrap cedar and attached a single piece onto the side panel. These pieces will support the center divider. Once both panels were in place, I could then struggle to figure out how to get the center divider in place. I had a brief moment of panic where I didn't think I'd be able to fit it in place, but thankfully I figured it out and was able to hammer it in place and once again screw it into place. So with all that complete, I then ran a bead of glue all around the top, flipped the whole base over, and then carefully aligned the base to the top. And then I screwed in lots of screws. With the base done, I then moved on to cutting the mitered molding for the top. I mentioned before how I don't like the look of plywood edges, and so I wanted to take the time to wrap the top with these 1x2s from the big box store to give the whole thing a more polished, finished look. Once everything was cut and trimmed to size, I then glued two opposing sides first so that I could take advantage of clamping them together, and once one side was glued on, I then glued the other two sides. Finally, I used the trusty hand plane to trim the edge flush to the top, and then flipped the whole thing over to attach the casters. I found these really nice casters online. Something I like about them is that when you lock them down, they have little prongs that slide into corresponding fittings that really ensure the wheel won't move around while locked into place. And they also are push to lock and unlock, which is nice to not have to fuss with trying to use your toe to push up some lever. To attach them, I laid out where I wanted them, drilled a hole, and then ratcheted them in place. And finally, the last step was to apply some polyurethane. My polyurethane is really old, and I quite honestly don't know if it even works as intended anymore. I also know you generally brush on poly, but with this poly being more of a gloopy substance, and this being a shop piece, I found rubbing it on with an old t-shirt to be the easiest way to apply it. And just like that, it was done. I put my planer on its new home and wheeled the whole thing to where it will reside until I'm ready to use it for my next project. And hey, if you like this video, check out this hand tool video where I make a keepsake box.